Okay. So come back to a new environment, right? New view.
Yeah.
I prepared a very good question for you. So you often say that cybersecurity is a team sport.
Yeah.
It's like that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But as a holistic solution.
Yeah.
And in this era of AI and automation, how was the roles of the coach or captains involved, and why is the human element still critical in the risk defense?
Yeah. So I mean, in current or traditional sense, a CISO need to be supported with a team that can help to be his extended arms and legs in order to execute things quickly, right? Because in the moment of crisis, like a cyber incident or cyber attack have happened, before we trigger the crisis management team, we want to make sure that we have done in a best possible way to understand what's happening from a cyber attack. We know how to do containment. We know how to trigger our playbook to do recovery and corrective action, right? So all these need to be handled simultaneously, and that's where you want to make sure that the team first have the right context, which means our understanding of an incident need to be plotted in a timeline.
Yeah.
So that at least we know who done what, where, when, how, and what have been compromised, right? So while it's evolving in the first, and we measure it in Singapore context, we measure it in minutes or in 15-minute block, because in 1 hour we need to call MAS. So in the first 15 minutes, we would need to plot out the incident graph. What do we know so far? And the next 15 minutes is to determine whether or not is this a serious enough incident that we can handle or we cannot handle. That's where we need to equip to call the management to either trigger an external support, which typically will go to path. One is to either engage our cyber insurance to trigger, digital forensics investigation response, right? Or it could be triggering the compliance to make sure that they are ready to call the regulator and inform them that something serious has happened. But we are currently in control because we have taken the necessary steps, as well as to assure the public that if something were to happen, we are doing what we can in our best ability to recover from a situation, right? Because the first question the regulator will ask, okay, is this a widespread incident? Does it impact the public, right?
Yes, right.
Imagine if the ATM cannot draw money anymore, right?
Yes,
People
right.
cannot spend using their credit card, or they cannot do fund transfer.
Yes, right.
That's where the economy may stall. So that's where the regulator need to know firsthand what's happened, what have we done so far, and how long would it take to recover, right? So we then need to make sure that we are in ability to equip our regulator with such information, as well as the ability to execute those in accordance to what the regulator expects, right? Because someone would have to then, before we have to prepare a corporate comms to our senior management. It could be up to the CEO to sign and make a public announcement, right? That something happened, and we are on top of the situation, and we know what happened, and we know how to recover. We are working hand in hand with the local regulator as well as the with other external support to make sure that we will offer a transparent outcome to the incident. So if there's any impact to, say, the public, then we also want to minimize the impact, as well as keep people informed, right? Because if suddenly something go wrong, at least they know that, okay, there's something material have happened, regulator has been informed, so that we're not hiding something and pretend that it's a maintenance or something, right?
Yes,
so to be transparent is the first step, because and that's where you need a team, right? I go back to the team sport where, like in say a soccer game or a basketball game, right? Everyone have a role, right? You cannot depend on one person to score for anything.
Yes, right.
But it depends on the whole team to work together to achieve an outcome, right? Because there's many things happening. While I can give instructions, but I depend on my incident responder to plot the timeline and also find new information about who attacked us, right? Who is the threat actor? What is the TTP? What kind of malware do they use? How do we prevent? How do we contain it? Is the containment effective? and how do we recover from that, right? So I'll ask these multiple questions that the team need to respond what is the best possible way. Of course, I don't depend on one person because one person's knowledge may be limited, but that's why we want to make sure that the whole team have come together based on our years of experience to offer the best outcome, right?
I see.
So that's why we always need to work together with the best team, right?
Yeah, thank you. I think this is really good answers for what I have asked, and really satisfied with what you share. One more question I care about is, nowadays there are a lot of cybersecurity security solution offering to business, right? To bank, to insurance, to financial institution across the globe. But still, the people still care and worry about their securities. So why that happens?
Yeah, so it depends on, I suppose it's a mindset thing. Because while investment into cybersecurity doesn't mean that is sufficient, I mean, that's normally the first part, right? So normally I look at it from 3 parts. So people, technology, and process, right? So we may have the technology by buying good solutions. We may have a good team of people, but we want to make sure that the process, to make sure that the tools are being well used and is always sufficient and effective, right? So the concept of adequacy and efficacy. Adequacy means do we have adequate tools to cover the company? But company is not a static organization. My company always evolve by having new business, right? Where the business may expand, they may do M&As, they may also use of AI to create new product or new services, right? So this is where the attack vector have increased, the threat landscape have increased. So the tools need to evolve to keep up with the changes that the business is introducing, and the people also need to be upskilled to be understanding what are the new attack vectors, right? Like AI is a classic example. Adoption of AI, it comes in a very rapid space now. Every 2-3 months, there'll be new capability. Like say 3 years ago, when ChatGPT is launched in November 2022, right?
Yes.
So since then, people had came out with chatbot, but that's the very first version where you do a simple Q&A, right?
Yeah.
Then it evolved into Gen AI, where we can do generative use of AI, right? They can start to do more creative stuff. They can shorten different. They can come up with plans.
They create images, videos,
images, and so they shortcut a lot of workflows to come up with very interesting outputs. And now in the age of agentic AI, right? That's where the agents can spin out multiple sub-agents to complete the task. So every evolution introduces new risks. Like say, for example, with all these agents, that means now not only do we have human identities, we have non-human identity, which is typically in the past the service accounts that is not used by human but used by computer-to-computer interaction. Now we have AI agents, which is a new class of identity because they have different permission sets.
That's right.
And they have different ability to do different outcome, right? I mean, agents, depending on how it's being programmed, can be both useful, but at the same time, it can also be destructive, right? I mean, technology is always a double-edged sword. It can be used to do good, but it can also be used to do bad, right?
That's right.
And out there, while the company is always looking to do good, but there could be some accidental issues that still need to be managed, right? So this is what we call the AI risk, where so I may have the best tools, but if I have a team that may not be competent, then that introduce new risks to the company because we may not be watching out for these risks in the company where it can happen and become real business issues for the business, right? So we always make sure that the team, the technology evolve, and the business process, or how well the technology is embedded in the business. Like, AI shouldn't be say, oh, this one is not classified as an IT project and it's not classified operation. So this one is our own classification. But all new change into the organization need to be reviewed with security in mind.
That's right.
And not after the fact, right? Because sometimes the business say, oh, we just buy this new AI tool without any engagement with the security team. So then that's where, the first question we'll ask, how do we govern this tool? How do we have signals from them to know that they're actually doing what is the known good? So that if we know what is the known good, then we can go and measure against what potentially is not, what it's doing is not actually doing the known good, but it's actually doing something deviating, right? Then that's where we can capture and inform the business. It may not be doing bad things, but it's what we call drifting, right? AI drift. The AI drift can be introduced through the AI model itself.
Yes, right.
The model every now and then will change and upgrade, but it also will change the ability of how they make sort of produce information, right? Because at the end is the business reviewing the output and make a decision, right? But your AI model or the AI brain itself keep changing, and how do you make sure that it's actually giving you reliable information, right?
That's right. Right.
Yeah, because a model drift also partly depends on AI, the data that AI depends on. That's where we call it AI data drift, right? The data itself could be drifting because the timeliness of the data is no longer relevant for the context, because it's not updated fast enough. Like say in the past, ChatGPT 3.5 is only using data from 2024, right?
Yes, right.
It's capped between a time period. So if you ask questions about 2026, it's not going to give you anything meaningful, right? Or just guessing. Which is either way is a worse outcome, right? They should just say, I do not have the latest data. But sometimes the AI is trying to be too smart. They'll give you, oh, this is what it's supposed to be, when it's not even supposed to give you an answer. And the other scenario from a security perspective is AI data poisoning, right? The data could be deliberately poisoned, like the internet. So people will ask me, what's the difference between AI model that's trained on the internet versus trained on a curated data set? On the internet, they are both good and bad data. There's misinformation, disinformation campaign, and the internet is full of good things, but also a lot of junk, right? So how does the AI know how to differentiate? And how do you know the model is trained on only good things, right? So the information, can you share that you trust it 100%? Because AI is from a model perspective, is predicting the next best word. It's not really real intelligence. That's why we call it artificial intelligence, right? Hopefully someday they can be really smart, but at this point, we need to know the limitation of the technology in order to manage it properly, right? But I mean, this is us technologists talking, but the average business person may not know that, the AI must be smart, right? Whatever they say must be true. So that's where we need to make sure that we call out with guardrails and other subject matter experts to review, to make sure that the human continue to take accountability and responsibility, first to govern the AI systems, but also to make sure that the adoption in the company through the process is done properly, right? The process is not only just before it goes into production, but it's also ongoing, because the ongoing risk is the part that the business are using it, right? Just because you've done it right the first time doesn't mean it's always right. You will continue to drift and change, and over time people may have false assumption that it's always reliable, right? So the continuous monitoring become more important.
So it's been that nowadays the business and as well as in the risk-averse industry like BFSIs, right? We have to invest more on cybersecurity currently, because the AI trend nowadays, everyone see and seek for the AI development, AI innovation, something like that. But it raises the cybersecurity issue dramatically currently.
Because I can see the trend that, everyone is very hyped on adopting AI. But I'm just giving a caution. I've been speaking in the last few conferences on, with AI, it's a double-edged sword, right? You can do both good, but the bad people can also use AI to do bad things, right?
That's right.
So that's where, from a security perspective, the role is that we need to be the first mover to make sure that we have the right tools to defend against bad guys who are using AI to attack us. Because if our traditional tools and our traditional processes, say for example, an audit takes place on a either yearly basis. Even banks, highly regulated industries get audited on a half-yearly or quarterly basis. But this is like 3 months. Say for example, the bad guys are using new tools to scan us 24/7, right?
Yeah.
So whatever defects that we have or vulnerabilities will be quickly discovered and be taken advantage of, right? So if we do not have the equivalent tool, the classic analogy I use is like, we are having knife to a gunfight, right? Where someone with more firepower coming to us and is still using knife, right? They can shoot us from a mile away, yet we're still defending ourselves with knife. I mean, that's the history taught us, right? Like last time when the Western powers come with knife and, in Asia, we are still using swords and knives. We will never win, right? So we need to be smarter about that, where we need to make sure that we have comparable technology to make sure that we are protecting ourselves 24/7. We are continuously checking our own baseline to make sure that we are up to date. I mean, I even thinking like all these, point in time, quarterly, half-yearly things, they should all come together as expertise to build the front line or to be at the front line to defend against the bad guys, right?
Yeah.
And you can do continuous audit nowadays, right? With the right tools, you can always check, making sure that we are always compliant. And compliant to me is only the baseline. It's the foundation of what must be done.
Yes, right.
But security is a lot more than that, right? It's about making sure that do we have the right level of control against the real attackers out there, right? So that's where we need
to... what should be the plan for the business here, especially in APAC, should apply now to strengthen their cybersecurity levels?
So often people ask me this question as well. So what should be the right level of investment, right?
Yes, right.
It shouldn't be an art, it should be a science where, what we first and foremost need to know is to do our own threat modeling. Who will be likely attacking our industry? Of course, a lot of times people doesn't know where to start. That's why we use what I call cyber threat intelligence to get a sense, right? Not only because this happens in other parts of the world where our company are not unique, right? There are the same, say, crypto exchanges out there, right? So they said we can just use cyber threat intelligence, say globally, tell me the threat landscape for the, say, crypto industry in the APAC region, which are the recent attacks that happened in the last 12 months, so that and then who are the threat actors who are attacking crypto exchanges, right? So then we can quickly profile, actually there are a handful that actually specialize in attacking crypto exchanges. They are specialized cyber criminal groups that does specialized malware to do these attacks, right? And that's where, by looking at that, you can know who are the threat actors, what are their TTPs, right? The techniques and procedures on how they actually infiltrate a company. Sometimes it could be as easy as, they will send foreign workers that is masqueraded to join your company and then be the insider to steal information out, right? So these are the things that happened before. So this is what I call the known unknowns, right? Because you never look, so it's always unknown to you. But if you look at what's happening outside the industry and in the organization perspective, you can start to see these are the real cyber attacks that are happening elsewhere. And that's where you can take steps to prevent us as the next victim.
I see. Wow, this is like a really insightful information you have shared. And switch back a little bit. Today we stay here in Vietnam, and if you have a chance to advise Vietnamese PFSI organization on cybersecurity and with the AI era context, so what should be the advice you will give to them? To us.
So, I mean, I can't say that I have been very well tuned to the Vietnamese market yet, but I think from a general Asia Pacific perspective, I think Vietnam is really well capable to be a fast developing IT hub, right? From a global perspective. I see that there's a lot of businesses being moved here to Vietnam. It's very fast growing. I think that's where there's opportunity to leapfrog against existing countries that are really invested in legacy technology. I think AI is the next mega trend as well as the next differentiator, right? By adopting newer technology, not only can you be more cost competitive, you can be faster in response, you can have a higher quality output. In that sense, right? So to me, like to have solutions that are better, cheaper, faster than a competitor will then help you to be more competitive, right? Not just within the Vietnamese economy, but also on the regional or global sense, right? Because like the example I use in a bank, right? Some banks are still, their core banking is still hosted on mainframes, right? And nowadays there are flexible applications that virtual banks, you become more nimble, you can scale a lot faster, and you can be more capable in terms of new functionalities to be introduced, right? And I think the traditional like staffing structure can change with the use of agentic AI agents, right? Because a lot of tedious but simple work can now be fully orchestrated through agents. But it free up the human to do higher level work where we become the managers of agents. But we still need to retain accountability and making sure that the output is correct. I think you will create a new class of, say, security or governance professionals to monitor these AI systems. But other than that, I think the company can, invest more into better customer experience, more competitive products and services to scale, right? But I mean, as the previous example I gave, right? As long as we continue to invest in the controls in a holistic fashion from prevent, detect, response, recover, and with a good governance structure, I think that will I think it will help Vietnam to be one of the leading players in the market, right? At least making sure you are safer from the outset so that the trust and confidence will be there. Because we heard about cyber attacks all the time, right? It could be, say, a car production got hit by a cyber attack and they stop production, right? Beer factory get hit by a cyber attack, they can stop producing beer. So we learn from other countries' experience and say, would it be applicable to us, right? So I always advise my clients and say, okay, if this happened elsewhere, would it happen to us? And if we do, can we detect and recover it the same way, right? Because nowadays cyber attack is not a if, it's a matter of when, right? So attack will always come. And no one will blame us if attack comes because we don't choose to be attacked, right? It's like a fire, right? We don't choose to be burned. But if it happens, we just need to know we have the ability to detect and react and then recover from it, right? In the fastest possible way to minimize any losses or impact to the business.
I think it's a very good sharing from you with cybersecurity in AI eras. And there's a lot of things today we learned from Mr. Sam's. And thank you again for taking time with Thought Leadership series from Sokos. And we will heading to the next episode with a more interesting topics to you guys. And once again, thank you, Sam, for helping us today. And have you have a good trip in Vietnam?
Right. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.